Okay, so just as a brief brief background, collectively sustainable is a grassroots movement that is dedicated to creating sustainable decentralized micro food networks across the nation. We're doing this, and it sounds like when you was a kid and you say you want to change the food system, you want to know about it, we're really acknowledging that that's a real barrier, but also something that is conquerable if we work together. So our objective is to link with growers, bakers, and makers across the nation. And the first echelon of our plan is really to provide more options for our community. Anybody who is out here wishing that they had access to more nutrient dense food, more ethically sourced products, the stuff that ain't causing you rashes or irritations or clothing that ain't got microplastics in it. We're saying we need to push that culture forward, and we use the app Farm Fresh 24/7 to do just that. So if you're somebody who is a farmer, a grower of any capacity, a baker of any capacity, you don't have to be a professional. It could be your first time around and you just got a knack for growing herbs. We're saying use Farm Fresh 24/7 so that we collectively sustainable can intentionally start to divest our money from the big corporations and invest in our local communities, our peer-to-peer transactions. So collectively sustainable is the steering committee of that initiative. Farm Fresh 24/7 is our tool that we use, free to download, free to post on, but collectively sustainable is a steering committee. And within this, we're looking to help and assist in any way, shape, or form that is necessary in our capacity to assist people who want to, grow food or really want to get into agriculture for the right reasons, not just trying to get grant money just because you want to buy, some rims for your truck or you need a new roof. We saying we're trying to get people in place to receive funds to impact our communities. And again, by our communities, it comes in a wide arrayment. We're not somebody who's just bent on one demographic of people. We're saying the type of people that we're joining forces with have the same spirit as us. We're saying we got to bind together and really have a solution-based mentality amongst the collective and move forward in that direction. So again, if you're somebody who really wants to impact your local area in the agriculture department, you're in the right place. Definitely looking forward to assisting in that in whatever capacity we can. Again, with filing for farming tract numbers, that's just one of those things where if you can get funding, again, we can assist. And Dan Scott, Studio Farmer Inc., he is my actual farming tract operator. He practices a digital farming track, and he basically assists us where we reach our limits. He's able to assist us in so many ways, and one of those ways is with breaking down grants and how they're structured, how we should approach them, and even our farm as a tract, how we should approach that as a business. So he's really instrumental in kind of being a guiding light towards, hey, do this, or your farm operation can run like this. And that's kind of what he's here for. And again, this is a free Zoom. We're hoping that you're encouraged to join the movement full-fledged, collectively sustainable. Again, this is what we're really pushing, collectively coming together and even filing those grants, maybe looking for funding collaboratively, collectively as smaller entities, because we know the big guys usually gobble up the grants. So again, this is our time that I feel we've been pushed into this direction, but it's still nevertheless a great time for us to really show some solidarity within a movement. It's been a while since we all band forces, and I think this is the right time and right place. So without further ado, I want to pass it over to Dan Scott of Studio Farmer Inc., and he will start us on the premise of the 10 commandments of the farm track.
So the reason we're here is because we're trying to, well, we want everyone to have a better understanding of what the farming tract number or farming tract can do in regards to your business as a farm. From what I've seen over the past, 9 years being in this since 2016, is that we lack we lack infrastructure. We don't practice uh, the value of each other's relationships, if I would say that properly, in regards to farming on your track.
We're basically going to start from the bottom up. So
Uh-huh.
basically, again, today we're going to fixate on the first tract commandment, which is know thy farm. But 10th commandment, y'all shall know y'all's LOO tenant names, lieutenant names and roles. That's landholder, operator, other tenant producer, and associated fields. Go ahead, Dan, expound on that.
So, okay, when it comes to a farm and tract, or there are three entities that particularly that the FSA USDA recognizes on this farm and tract, and that's the landowner or landholder, the operator, which this is the view from where I am as an operator, and then there's an other tenant producer. This relationship itself has an intrinsic value. Is what they call an in kind, something we don't pay attention to. So on this farm and tract, if you don't know your particular role, you may be missing out on particular business endeavors that you could uh, put into play with those other entities as well. So with me, when I started, I figured I just want to be a farmer. I want to farm and things like that. That wasn't really the case because I was more so into the business part of it. And I recognized that's what an operator pretty much does. So I started approaching and building the farming tracks from the best POV from how I can handle things from an operator. So I have like about what I'm on about 11 to 12 farming track numbers. Um, and on each one of those, I play a different role intentionally. I play the landholder role on one farming track. On another one, I may play an operator role on the farming track. On the other, I may have my business, SnapCorps or Studio Farmer, play the other tenant role. This is only because I'm approaching this farming track pretty much from a apprenticeship, pretty much, POV, because labor is our number one issue. So, and with that being said, based off of who you assign to those roles, you can then move forward in regards to what is the intrinsic or in-kind value that each may have. For instance, uh, there's a particular person that works with us who uh, needed we're trying to get them into an apprenticeship program, right? So I'm not putting everybody's business out. I'm just basically giving you a viewpoint of how this would work. They would sign onto a farming tract with a landholder as an other tenant in regards to being an apprentice on that tract. What does that person, that other tenant, does bring to that tract? Well, with apprenticeship, there comes these instruments like work experience, funding instruments, um, you know, training cost sheets and things of that nature that comes along with an apprentice. So they're bringing an intrinsic value to this farming tract. The landholder themselves, now let's jump to the other side. The landholder, the land itself has an intrinsic value by that person being a site or related training instruction site, right? Like a stewardship center, right? Okay. Um, that intrinsic value of allowing the other tenant to utilize the space, whether virtually or physically there, that's a value that landholder can use or leverage when it comes to other things like taxes, writing stuff off, or just showing. If you're even writing a grant, let's writing a grant, you can show the value or in kind when they say cost share of how you have this other tenant on your property. And then here I am as an operator, right? Let me jump into this. We're still in number 10. I'll come to the table, and if I have particular funding as an operator, that's adding that value of what I'm doing as an operator to your farm and tract. Now you got 3, 4 different ways. We just maximize the value of your farm and tract, and we're just on number 10 right now.
All
Just
right.
off our relationship,
Yeah,
just off of knowing who we are. You know what I'm saying? That's why this is know thy farm. Okay. Next.
absolutely.
And,
Number
and if we
nine.
got any questions, right, you know what I'm saying, in between
Well, look,
each
let's do
commandment. please let
Yeah.
people jump in. You know what I'm saying?
You want the questions in between? I thought we are gonna keep the commandments concise and to the point so we can get to number one.
Okay, you go ahead. Yeah, let's do
Yeah,
it like that. Then.
yeah, let's do it like that. So we don't want to jumble y'all up with too much info. We know this stuff is really deep, so we want to be, very impactful with this time. So number 9, y'all shall know y'all's irrigation status. Number 8, y'all shall know y'all's crop name and status. We're gonna do 7, 6, and 5th commandments. 7, you shall know the use of the land, field modifier. 6, y'all shall know y'all's land use of field option. 5 is y'all shall know y'all's land use field acreage. Those are 3 different fields. 7, 6, and 5. You want to expound on that, Dan, or you want me to keep going?
Yeah, I can expound on it right quick. So we can look at 6 and go back. Y'all shall know their land use options, right? Or land use field options. This is where separate the farm from the tract. The farm is the entire area, the entire usage of where you're farming. Tracts are pretty much located within the farm. These tracts can have different land use options because within the tract are fields. Run that back. If you look at on this particular page, you see I use a diagram. I use dice to pretty much coincide with what I'm saying. These are 36 fields. So if I was to go to somebody's farm, I pretty much would look at these different squares is pretty much my installations when building installations on a particular farm or designing a person's farm for them. You can move forward.
Okay. So we're gonna do 4th, 3rd, and 2nd commandments. That'll bring us all the way to one. 4th commandment is farmland acreage. 3rd commandment is fields. Again, 2nd commandment is know thy tract number. 1st commandment that we're gonna settle on today is, again, you shall know your farm number. So we'll go ahead and dive in at this time with our main speaking point. So Dan, go ahead. It's on you.
Okay. Let's look at this diagram again with the dice that I've used in regards to land use. What's the acreage? Well, we're at number 3. Okay, farmland acreage and land use acreage. The farmland acreage could be 1 acre here. All 9 dice make up 1 acre. 1 tract, one of the dice is a tract. That is 1/10 of an acre. Okay. No, 1 dice that would be 1/10 of an acre. The smaller fields in there would be a smaller version, like a third point, a 0.10 of an acre, or 0.3 of an acre, something like that. So it's broken down into those levels within this particular one diagram. Um, in totality, after reviewing all the 10 commandments and thinking back, there's one thing I did leave off, that these tracks or dikes also they represent particular resource concerns as well. Like the number 1 dice probably would represent soil, the number 2 would represent water, number 3 air, 4 plants and animals, for number 5, 6 energy. These are the 6 resource concerns. And number 7, social, economic, ecological, and digital, that is the 7th, which is human resource concern. When it comes to your farm, there are 7 resource concerns: soil, water, air, plants, animals, energy, and human. And the human ones are marked as social, economic, ecological, and digital. And so when we get to the first commandment, know thy farm, this will be a basically a form or a area where you could input your information. It'll come to me and I'll be able to act as an operator, with you. It's basically for consultation purposes to help you build a budget for what you're doing. To possibly, if you want to partner on a grant moving forward, it will give me information to make sure that I'm putting you in properly into a funding system properly and making sure that all of your all parts of your farm is funded, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, so Dan, let's speak on the farm in the urban construct, because that's why I think a lot of us, and again, you all, this is a free-flowing dialogue. If you hear something or you got a question, just raise your hand and we'll kind of call you out and you come off mute and ask your question. But this is supposed to be flowing. So, Dan, can you speak on the constructs of urban ag and like the value that we can bring or the possibilities that we can touch with urban ag? Because I know a lot of us in small spaces can't necessarily, I'm not going to say we can't be producers, but quantifiably it will be difficult to make a good amount of money on a tenth of an acre as we see farming right now. But can we speak on like urban farming? What kind of things can we be doing as an urban farmer or in the urban farming sector to kind of increase our yield as a farm as far as capital?
Seventh commandment: y'all shall know y'all land use modifier. As you can see, the modifiers are what: irrigated, wildlife, graves, drain, organic, water feature, protected hay, and what? Urban. Really, I mean, with controlled environments is really your best. If you don't have as much land to compete with a large farmer, smaller tracts can partner with each other.
Yeah. So I really want to take a breather just to see how check the temperature out there. If anybody has any questions right now, I know somebody asked me, coaching me through how to share the screen. It ain't gonna happen. I'm just telling you now, 'cause my apologies, but I'm not so much versed in Zoom. We usually do stuff in person. We just trying this out for the first time, just 'cause we want to get the information out. But how are y'all feeling? Is there any questions? I know it sounds like a lot, and for a small first generation farmer, homesteader, that's how it sounded to me too. A lot of mumbo jumbo, a lot of stuff that's not really, I couldn't understand it. And that's why I rely on Dan, because he can explain it like we have a real relationship and he can explain it to me. So if something's going on with grants or fundings and I have questions, I can call him. And it might take a little while for it to really pierce through my brain of how it's working or what it's looking like. But this is the value of having a community member who understands that we got to work together and who sees it from a different perspective. So again, like my brother said, like instead of looking at your land as a single plot, in a tenth of an acre where you're saying, well, I can't do nothing but a rosemary here. But if it's 10 people doing 10 different herbs and y'all all, I mean, now it's together. Now you have an acre of herbs, an acre of ethically sourced herbs, right? You can do medicinal herbs, culinary herbs, but it's so we're limitless to what we do when we think collectively. And again, this is an aspect of that collective thinking, because some of the stuff is really like still very difficult for me to even understand. But again, I feel comfortable because that's what Dan is for me. And in our community, people who opt into this collective framework, we get to lean on him. And even when we reach a ceiling, he still can take the ball and kind of roll with it on our behalf. And again, first generation farmer, that's what I looked for a long time. We spent money on grant writers. We spent money on, hey, can you get us here? Can you get us there? And we really just dumped it in a hole. Nobody ever called back. We never got approved for a grant. Nothing ever happened in our favor until we met Dan. And the value I see now, and I'm kind of going off subject. I'm still giving y'all time to think and see if you have any questions. The value that I saw was, it wasn't like, hey, Dan, we see this grant, we want to apply for it, and he just takes off from there. No, that's not it, because we believe in the principles of teaching a man how to fish. So not only will we pull up the grant, we'll pull up the grant together several times and go through the whole entire grant so that it's understood, right? So that's a big thing. A lot of us are really walking into things blindly because it's a lack of it's gate kept information. And again, this is again collectively sustainable's framework. We're not trying to gatekeep anything. We're trying to put each other in the best position possible. And again, if this stuff is going over your head, don't worry, because if we have access to Dan, we have access to regurgitation of the information more specifically, more intrinsically. So again, the floor is open right now just to see how y'all are feeling. We're talking about urban ag, the farm track in general. If you have any questions, particularly as it pertains to those two things, please, you can raise your hand or come off mute. If not, we will continue. But I really want to be specific in answering questions today, that you might have about farming tracks and all those things.
Hey, how y'all doing? So my first question is to the group in general, like who has their farm number, right? Because that's like the first thing we need to get before we do anything, correct? And then once we have our farm number, if we want to work as no, it's no if. We're working as a collective, right? So I'm working on tomatoes, but I know someone else in, say, another state who has some that I don't even grow. All right. How do we work together to get those, grants for, what we're growing, especially if it's a specialty?
So to answer the first question, you was like getting the farmer track number is the first thing that's important, right? No, it's not. Understanding why you're getting it is then getting it, because I wouldn't have got 10, I wouldn't have got five, I wouldn't have got a bunch of them and didn't really understand why when it shows up. So your farmer track number shows up on something called a farm data report, right? It's a very simple sheet. But when this is how you know people don't have your best, people who are in particular places in these offices don't have your best interests at heart. For years, me, peers, people I knew, my aunt, had farmer track numbers that had zero dot data by cropland. If you look at that farm data report, you probably may have it on yours as well right now, those who may have one. So this is why getting the farmer track data or farmer track number first is not the most important. Understanding why you're getting it, because if you approach it from that POV, when they generate your farm data report, it won't say zero data by cropland. It won't say, it'll say you on a 1 acre of farmland, but why is it 0.0 when you know you're growing? And they know, and the people you come into contact know you're growing, but ain't nobody ever told you you need to update your acreage report so that your farming track number shows the proper data. I know it's people on this who got farming track numbers probably, and if they go pull their farm data report, they look by the word cropland. Somebody getting robbed. But the second one, your second question, how do you guys work together? And you're in different states or different cities, different counties, whatever. It's called assigning that entity person, their business, whatever, assigning them as a partner on your farming track. This is done when you can support each other's operation, is whether it's financially, whether it's you're doing some type of an in-kind for that particular property, you have to have some connection with what's growing there. And the best way to have that connection with what's growing there is being on the farming track, and then identifying through these 10 track commandments, identifying your role and your activities. These are nothing but roles and activities. And pretty much you will have, as long as you know both parties have a copy of the farm data report, you won't have no static from the FSA pretty much, or anybody questioning whether or not. You just make sure y'all doing what y'all supposed to be doing, in regards to making sure that tomato get grown or get shipped or whatever. Or but did I answer your question before we move forward?
You did. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Anybody else have a question?
My next question is, now that I have my farm number, what is the next step?
Now that you have your farm number, you will pull something out called the CCC 902E entity, Farm Entity Business Plan. And in between that, there's the part where will have to a person I would be working with, such as what you did, Mama Celeste. You entered your information in the particular form, and it generated uh, some information for you. It generated data. That's another thing. I know, Lawrence, you have been telling everybody that data is the new gold. Data is the new soil type thing or whatever. I heard this is true, and this is something that we as people have not leveraged, and this is something that we are doing now in regards to that. So, Mama Celeste, I believe you said you was pretty much satisfied with the results of what it gave you, right?
Absolutely. I learned a lot just from filling it out about my own space.
Yes, man. Thank you for doing that. And see, that allows me to uh, work with you. When I don't need to call you or talk to you or bug you and keep texting you or something like that. I can look at the profile that you created, or the data that you provided, and uh, implement you properly in possible opportunities that I may see, or when I'm doing what I'm doing on my end, as far as writing grants or anything else. I just know that part, you know, better.
So I know a lot of people reached out about, funding opportunities. So what Dan is expressing right now is basically, he can basically assist if you don't really understand how your land can be used. That's another value that he's willing to offer. He'll give you like a consult, to where you can plug in your data, and then he'll be able to understand it on his end and draft you a personalized reflection of your farming tract, farm tract, and how you can use it. So again, you can get a farm tract number, but if you don't know how to use it, you're still gonna be blowing in the wind, and it's gonna be things that you're leaving on the table, is what they say. Money left on the table. We trying to scrape it all. Again, as we progress forward into sustainability, we know that these funds are meant for endeavors such as ours, for small scale growers, for people who are really going to work the land, even if it's in your backyard, to possibly maybe feed your community, right? And be sustainable in that endeavor, while your community can bypass Kroger's and Publix and all these folks that's getting their stuff from another country. We're saying that no, we can start to spend our money in our communities, but we need enough people to stand up and assume that role as a producer. But again, that comes with just the spectrum of farm, getting a farm track number and understanding what you can possibly get out, what you can grow, how you should grow, because maybe you're in a space where you shouldn't be trying to grow food at all. Maybe you should be trying to raise chickens. Maybe you can't raise chickens, but you can grow herbs. The last thing that I like to nail down, and I hope that it resonates with a lot of you all on here, because a lot of us are looking to do this again, and some of us are really coming in for the first time. We really, really, really need to look at education. I'm a farmer that grows and sells no food. I got food all around it, but we don't sell any food. We sell that game though. And us selling the game, quote unquote, is really empowering, because when our community comes, we're literally able to teach them how to do what we're doing. So again, teach a man how to fish, just like Dan and his grant operation. So if you come into that come under that umbrella and you choose to learn side by side, that's basically how it's going to go. Like he's going to show you the grants. We'll go in through the grants as a group, as a collect on Zoom, line by line, so you can understand it, so you're not dependent on Dan all the time. This is what I'm doing with education. So I'm not wanting to sell my community the tomatoes. Right now, the funding objective that we're reaching for with collectively sustainable has to do with education. And again, that's where we can overstep all the red tape that's going on now with DEI, low income, low access. We can scrap all of that stuff if we just literally go into education. Dan has gotten us in cahoots with the Workforce Development Center in DeKalb County. We're working on Clayton and Fulton next. We're in with Clayton County Public Schools. We in with 4-H, Young Farmers of Future Farmers of America programs, all off of education. And again, you can get a farm track number. And I was waiting for some questions to come out. I hear everybody kind of quiet, but I don't know if you all know, like, you don't really need a whole bunch of land to be a farm. Like, I know somebody who's running a quail operation out of his home. He has a farming track number, but he runs out of his garage. He raises quail. So it's a lot of different ways that you can enter into agriculture and still not have a green space or not have to use the green space. So I was really waiting for some of those questions to come out, but maybe you all are already hip to it. But if that invokes some questions that you now have, please raise your hand, because we're really here just to give the information. At this point, the farming track has been described. My brother described it to a T. And basically the farm number has been described. And hey, look, for all y'all who are putting it in the chat, man, I appreciate it. But man, a player ain't finna read that, man. Hey, look, just raise your hand and come up and talk, because we want to
Yeah,
verbalize it. We want y'all to
I'm
read
reading the
it
check.
with your own mouth. I don't want to interpret it. Come on off the mic. This ain't like church, man. We up here together. We're trying to move forward together. Come up off that mic and ask that question.
I tried to say,
Y'all come up off them mics, man.
Okay, so like I was put in the chat. I'm sorry, I just didn't want to cut everybody off. I was just getting information in which I was talking about. Thank you again, yes, for providing us with all this information, as a lot of us whom haven't even got started don't even know where to start. So that's why I'm on this Zoom call with you guys. I know you can't give me everything on how to start, but like the young lady said, like once you get a track number, which I'm not going to get any of the numbers yet because like I said, I'm in an apartment, but once I move and I'm looking for land, or like how do you get moving if you want to be in the urban garden sector? What are the things that I need to be gravitating to, moving to get started?
So I say this: if you got your farm track, no, or you're preparing to get your farm track number, you're in an apartment, you don't really know where to start. I say the best thing to do, in the spirit of our movement, collectively collaborate. Maybe find a farm near you to kind of learn some of the things. Maybe you can come on as a producer on another piece of land. So don't let the lack of land stop you from entering the agricultural field. It's people who are in the agricultural field who forage for a living. They go to the woods and get things. It's people in the agricultural field who reclaim wood, right, and turn it into mulch and kind of use that as an agricultural implement for soil degradation or carbon sequestration. It's a lot of different things you can do, but again, don't look at it. Try to open up, you all. Try to open up to not see just yourself in this. We got to see each other. So if you're somebody close to me and you want to get into agriculture, let's say it's just a learning initiative. We're saying, hey, join the farm that's close to you, start working the land, start to understand what it looks like, maybe even seek out a farm that replicates what you want to do and try to join like that. But if you don't find one, try to go start to like visit other farms, work alongside other farmers, and see like what the operations look like, what the day-to-day looks like, get an understanding. Like Dan said, before you get the number, you got to have the understanding, and the understanding comes here. You don't need no land for it. So definitely break out of that. Look at it as more of a collective amalgamation of what we're doing, and somebody out there can help you and assist you with understanding how to even get started. So let's just say I'm ready to get down. I've been learning. I've been volunteering. I've created a relationship with this one farm that's about 20 minutes away from me. I go there 3 times a week. I want to now be a part of this farm because I don't really have access to any other green space, and they're open to it as well. How would I go about that? How can I put myself in there as a real entity on that farm so that when we
Oh,
apply for grants, we can apply for grants together?
update your FSA 578, your acreage report, add identify that role or that person, and make a agreement with them. Bring them on as an pre-apprentice type deal. Bring them on as a
Say that one more
pre-apprentice. Make
time.
them another tenant of on the farming tract. Just have some type of MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and what you expect from them is on the other tenant and what they'll be learning and how they're utilizing either seeds. Because well, if you say if they don't have EBT, then if they got cash, then I guess that's because with EBT it is limited to you can only buy seeds and fruit bearing plants. But if you're just a person contributing, there are programs that kind of would cover, like I said, with the W. Okay, big deal. See if you are eligible or suitable for WIOA, the Workforce Innovation Act Opportunity Act. See if you qualify for an individual training account. Go to your local workforce development department. Run up on say, hey, look, I want to see if I'm eligible or suitable for ITA, individual training account. Because with apprenticeship, that people are what activate those funds. Uh, we don't know about them because they and the good old boys got them. How that go. Gatekeeping type is whatever. It don't trickle down to the community. Boo-hoo. So it's the same system that the plumbers, electricians, the trades are how they funding that. So it's like the tuition for apprenticeship. But when you see in colleges start talking about apprenticeship, getting into it, that's because they're in debt. They need to plug into another system so they can drain it and suck the resources out of it. Don't believe no of college talking about apprenticeship. Why? Because apprenticeship was created for you pretty much to not have to go to college and get into what? Debt, pretty much. And so if a person wants to actually bring value to a farm, join as a other tenant, utilize your in-kind, your those type of your in-kind, or it depends on what angle you're coming from. If it's EBT, whatever, use that as leverage and always get a receipt from the entity to justify the relationship in regards to what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. So did y'all catch that? I'm gonna reiterate it in my terminology, but did y'all catch that? Everybody clear on that? Or have any questions? Because I don't want to suck it up with y'all. I don't want to suck up the time if y'all had questions. But I'll reiterate. So for those of us who are in that position where you just feel like you don't have the land, maybe you're in an HOA, maybe something that impedes you from getting land or starting the process, again, find a farm in your area. Leverage that in-kind value. What do I mean? So I have somebody who comes here, a young lady named Ray. She comes here on Monday and Wednesday, and she works. I'm basically teaching her. So she's like my apprentice. I'm teaching her to do what I do. And when she's proficient, I don't have to be out there. In exchange, she gets a little piece of the yard, a little tenth, not even a tenth of it. I ain't gonna say you're gonna get a little 50 by 50 area to grow her medicinal herbs because that's the business she wants to have. So now I can put her in as an other tenant producer on my farm tract. So now it's not the barrier of land is not there anymore because we're collaborating, right? And in exchange, I'm getting assistance with physical labor in maintaining the farm, right? So you see that again, if we can strip it down to peel the layers of individuality off and see that we are the bloom itself, we can work together in multiple factions, and you can be a producer on more than one track. So if you had multiple farms that you did this with, you could be a other tenant producer on multiple farms. So again, the barriers are not there. We just don't know. And so that's a way. So if you're out there and you're looking to get in the agriculture game and you don't have that space, forge relationships, real meaningful ones. That means come with your hands open, or I'm gonna say arms full. That means you coming with some things. Come with an opportunity for the farm to benefit. And again, establish that authentic relationship. Find people that you like and enjoy working with. That's an important part of building the community. And that's really, in a nutshell, what I'm saying. We have to build community around agriculture. The premise is we're going in as a collective unit. So if you're in collectively sustainable, let's say we get off this and you say, "Hey, I really want to join. I like what y'all are doing. It's $5 a month." We're creating our own educational spaces with those donations, and we're the first operating stewardship center at this moment. We're slated to have 4 more in Atlanta through these efforts in our collective joint writing efforts. Because, excuse me, joint grant writing efforts. So we're exposing the funds, and then we're taking the funds and we can dice them 4 ways to sustain these stewardship centers, these educational spaces. So again, we got to get out the individual mindset and think of as a collective, and that roots itself in authentic collaboration, aka community. So look to really get to know farmers, growers, bakers, makers, homesteaders in your area, and forge that relationship, and then go forward with the real business structuring that you can use. All right, go ahead, Dan. I'm off.
Wait, can I ask one question
Okay,
before we continue? So
go
to
ahead.
clarify, the young lady that is working with you, she now has her track number on that 50 by 50, right? And she's also on your track number because she is what you said, a tenant producer, correct?
No, it would just be on mine.
Okay.
But yeah, it's on mine. But again, it's a collective effort. So
Okay.
if it was a grant, let's say it was a grant that came out for wild crafted herbs, medicinal
Mm-hmm.
herbs. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't grow any herbs, but she does. So
Okay.
now within that field Dan was talking about, so it's the track and then the field. Now she could be on that field, and
Got it.
that's her plot. So if she files for that grant, it's using our track, but it's her field.
Okay. Yep. Got it.
The picture is just an example of how you can bring have an intrinsic value with a farm. If a person who's trying to get into an apprenticeship program through a workforce program in their area, through the workforce board, their individual training account will help them access a training cost sheet, which we have like on the ETPL, the Georgia ETPL, we got like 4 to 5 training programs. And what we do, we price them, and partners, training, WIA training provider partners, those I partner with on a farm and track are also considered my WIOA training provider partners. Therefore, the individuals who went to see if they were eligible for the ITA can allow the trainers to access those funds that you see on this sheet. We have occupations or apprenticeships price for the training cost up to 7,000. Some of them 4, most of them are just between 7 and 5. But this is how you are able to, or your community, not if a person not even just just in the community, can bring a value to that particular farm or related training instruction facility. There are 5 areas of apprenticeship. You got employer, you got OJT, which is where mentorship is. You have RTI, related training instruction, which is what we're doing right now. You have the reward for skills gained, which is pretty much the wage. You have the 5th element, which is the certification or the certificate of completion. And yes, filling out the particular form to generate your profile is synonymous with particular USDA forms that require an operator to do what? At the bottom of the form, it says, can the operator certifies that all the information is correct. This is another reason I operate as where I approach a farm as an operator, because it gives me the ability to allow that farm to easily get into the apprenticeship system just like that. as a related training instruction site, or as a RTI facility, um, as a OJT mentorship space. It could be an employer space. But the way I'm able to do that, my nonprofit is also a apprenticeship sponsor with the USDOL Office of Apprenticeship, and we also are apprenticeship ambassadors. So we kind of build apprenticeships from scratch, literally. And my approach to everything right now helps strengthen the agriculture industry, what they call community of practice, with apprenticeship.
All right, cool. Did
Yeah,
that rest on
this is
everybody?
pretty much a farm and tract community of practice. You know what I'm saying? in that
Yeah.
sense of things, right? But go ahead, Lawrence. My bad.
No. You good. You good. You good. I just want to make sure we taking enough break, enough pause to kind of see if it digested well, if y'all are understanding it. I know that that apprenticeship part was a little spin, and that's another deep bag. But I mean,
Yeah, I was
again,
gonna ask, can we have like a whole day talking about that? Because I can see how that could be like another track, right? For your
right.
farm. Okay. Yep.
Right. So that's kind of where this is just commandment number one. So it's so much that we can do that we obviously can't cover it in one day, not even in 1 week. We really want to break this apart to really have a deep dive and really be, you know, insulated in the information and really understand it and digest it properly. So that's why we broke it down. We're probably going to meet once or twice a month to kind of go over different things, and that'll be through collectively sustainable. Again, that's kind of where the intentionality of the movement is coming to form, because again, we're saying that we know we've been losing, coming to approach things as individuals. Our next thing that I feel like we're being encouraged and universally pushed to is collaboration and community. And again, that's what collectively sustainable is. We're literally promoting this stuff as a collective effort. So just like Dan said, that's how we got the RTI site stamp of approval. That's how we got all the funding, or not funding, the opportunities through Clayton County Public Schools, through the county Department of Labor. All those things came from our collaboration with him on my farm track as an operator. He basically can speak on my behalf. Right, that's right, Mama Celeste. Collaboration over competition. That's our motto. That's our ethos. So I'm literally saying, hey, Dan is on my track. He's in a whole nother city. He's in a whole nother city. All he had to do was understand what my objectives were with my farm, assist me with conservation practices or educational aspects, or maybe equipment, whatever he could do to assist my farm, assisting with even a greenhouse, NCRS products that are, excuse me, NRCS products that are available to you that you might not know of. He makes those available to me. So again, it's just really understanding that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can kind of rely on each other for information as well, and kind of again put it together to where we're functioning as a unit instead of individuals, and we go a lot further in that uh in that parameter of growth and sustainability. So again, I just want to say that, and I just want to back off because it's I know it's a lot of information, but I just really want to continue to kind of scroll and see who's open to asking a question, or if something's piquing your interest or something ain't sitting well, put it out there. Because at this time it's 5:14. And we ain't gonna keep you all day. I think we said enough for today for sure about the farm number. And I know y'all probably still heads probably this big from kind of hearing all that information. 'Cause I know mine is, and I'm still hearing it for the 12th time. It's still so much to learn. But again, I don't have to learn it all. It's just how we're approaching agriculture. You don't have to grow it all, right? What if you collaborated with somebody else in the area who did something different than you, and y'all collectively came together as a market? What if it was 5 farms and y'all all did three things different? That's 15 crops, and y'all come together as a collective. That's all we're pushing. It's not really any like, it's no real prestidigitation about it. It's not fancy. It's really old school. We going back to the old school way of the village mentality. And so in this capacity, I don't have to know everything about agriculture grants and funding. I'm gonna know enough to where I can stand on my 2 feet, but I'm gonna call Dan whenever I have some questions. And I'm saying he really makes himself available so that we go over things together. We go over them together, but I can rely on him in that capacity. So again, that's just what we're pushing. That's our position going forward as a collectively sustainable and really trying to do this from coast to coast. We have people from across the nation a part of collectively sustainable. We can operate the same thing in other states. We're not bound by the scriptures of borders when it comes to this agricultural concept. We literally are collectively sustainable. We can do it wherever we are, collectively. Are y'all feeling that your hearts and minds are clear? Are y'all good? Go ahead, Mello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was gonna ask, is it feasible for us to like meet and be able to go step by step on how to do the farm track? Like we fill the application out like real time. Like could we do that on
Absolutely.
Zoom or in person? Like, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. If that's
Uh,
one of the things we need to do to assist, we can definitely schedule that. That's not a that's low hanging fruit.
yeah.
Definitely, we can do a Zoom again. We'll
Yeah.
probably schedule that. If anybody's interested in that, please raise your hand. If anybody's interested in kind of walking it down all the way through, as far as the paperwork for the farming track number.
And I think in that way they'll help everybody out. Like we can help each other out and just get it over with. You know what I mean? Or not just get
Right.
over with, but you know what I mean. Just go ahead and get it
No, I
done.
got I got you. Tiffany raised her hand. Thank you for that. I'm gonna write down Natalie Gamble raised her hand. Y'all are already community members anyway. So yeah, we definitely gonna do that. So that's too easy. And I will say that that's basically the intention behind our movement is being stewards and being stewards of our time and resources as well. So this is a free Zoom for everybody to kind of hear everything. But I've been saying it for the longest. I've been using the reference of Noah in the ark, and a lot of us have been looking to grow food or started growing food or started doing something as it pertains to sustainability. Brian Burton, I got you. Something that pertains to sustainability as a whole, we've been moving towards it actively because we see what's going on. And I'm saying that we're all Noah building our ark right now. We're connecting the arks together. We're not doing it by ourselves. But we're going to close these doors, so we're mindful of stewarding our resources properly. So people who are on this live who might not have the best interest of community building or moving as a collective, you're not going to see much of us. I'm not going to sell you on a dream. We're not interested in individuals trying to get manyans to be rich or trying to, get the newest whip or get they 20 acres down in the country. We're not interested in that. We're interested in assisting people who are looking to be of assistance to somebody else. So we want to plant the seed and act like nature do. They say don't count the seeds in the apple, you count the apples in the seed. So we're trying to plant seeds so that you birth and actually come in with production as well so that you can assist. We got one question from Irish Gray, and then Dan, I'm going to switch it back to you. Irish, go ahead.
Apologies. I guess I didn't lower my hand. I was one of the ones that wanted to be in on the
Okay, the
Zoom.
farm track.
But yeah, for the farm track, I apologize.
Okay, no problem at all. All right, Dan, on you.
No, I was just thinking how we can give individuals a simpler view of this approach. What made me actually even do this was I was seeing how people was filling out the mass. Remember the marketing
Mm-hmm.
association specialty crop,
Yeah. Yep.
and those forms, some of the forms actually that I kind of referenced in regards to, I was like, I was looking at like, dang, we don't even ask us some of these questions, and it's basically three levels to this. It's the farm, the whole thing, the tracks within the farm, and then the fields. If you want to simplify it, and then each of those elements have properties to them. But let's understand that everything we're doing is for planning purposes when it comes to filling out this information and putting it into the system so that the farm and track number shows the proper data. Like I said, Ask some people to look at their farm and track numbers right now. If you see 0.0 by cropland or whatever, and you're growing at that spot, you're being cheated. Now, if you want to physically do this, like literally break your farm up into tracts and then fields, the word is called reconstitution when it comes to the FSA office. None of them probably will say this to you. Do you want to reconstitute your property or land? But when you want to chop it up and break it down literally in the system like that, the word would be called, hey, I would like to reconstitute this tract. But people do that when it comes to when they're separating, giving, like if they got 2-3 acres and they got 3 kids, they want to give an acre to each kid, they would literally reconstitute those 3 and break them down to like an acre apiece. But they would still be part of a consolidated, collectively sustainable unit. If you understand that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, y'all. Well, I mean, that really puts it in the blender. And I think we are done with the questions. If nobody has anything else, we can go ahead and conclude this meeting. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, and I appreciate you all for joining. Again, this is the first track commandment. Know your farm number. It's 9 more left. What we're going to do is definitely have these at a more regularly scheduled time. Again, it's so much information that we don't want to like congest your week or your month with so much information at one time. I think the next thing we can do is back up and go for the farming track. So all of you all who raised your hand, Brian, Natalie, Tiffany, Iris, and anybody else, basically what we're going to be asking is that you join Collectively Sustainable so that we can have a more synchronized routine, because Collectively Sustainable is where we disseminate information. It's like our own social media where we don't get shadow banned or shut down. We literally can do the zooms from there, and that's where the replay will be as well. So if you didn't get this, the replay will be there. I can definitely send it to you if you came in and you're actually on the Zoom. You just came late. Just make sure you message me and I'll send you the replay link. But yeah, this is where we at right now. We're really trying to be intentional with every move we make. We will be honored if you join Collectively Sustainable, because we believe that literally us standing up together and moving forward together is going to be very much impactful. We cannot do it alone. We don't plan to do it alone. We're just looking for the right people. And again, if you've been on this Zoom for this long, you might be one of the people we're looking for. And we love to assist in whatever capacity. And like Dan was saying earlier, if you're somebody who needs assistance with your farm, maybe what you can do. He does have a means to where you can upload your data, and it's like a free consult, and he'll assist you with saying, hey, in this area, with this soil, with this space, you can do this, 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 and this as an agribusiness, right? In this capacity. And that's where you can have that one-on-one information straight from the horse's mouth. And again, we're just pushing collective action, collective everything within Collectively Sustainable. So if that's what's Dan's information, I have it in Collectively Sustainable, Natalie. No problem at all. For all of my community members that are already here, definitely all this stuff is going to be available on Collectively Sustainable. But if you're not on there, again, I hope to see you there. But if not, we still ain't gatekeeping. I still send you the video. I still give you the information to Studio Farmer Inc. and Dan Scott. And from there, you'll see what you can accomplish, or maybe some clarity that's needed. But if there, yeah, go ahead.
I may need to clarify something as well. It is the preference, since I am a Collectively Sustainable member, on the farm, it is a preference to work with those individuals first who are already active, within the system, or when it comes to moving forward. But I'm open to, but no, I'm going to stay right there.
Yeah. I ain't trying to sell nobody no dream, man. I'm already telling them what it is, man. We button this thing. It's Noah's Ark. I didn't finish my story. Noah's Ark, and now them doors is closed. Because I don't know about y'all, but I've been screaming it for 3 years. Hey, let's work together. Hey, let's do this collectively. Hey, let's collaborate. And nobody was listening. And now that the system looks like it's about to get blown over by a baby's kiss, we're literally on the edge of everything collapsing. And I know y'all know that. But again, food is where we make our last stand. This is serious business. So no, we're not entertaining anybody who doesn't understand the collective mentality. Because like my brother said, it starts here first. And if you don't understand that we got to move collectively, we can't even do nothing with you. We can help you with that farm track number. That's about all we're gonna do. You can go ahead out there and march the wilderness by yourself, but we're again, these doors are closing, and we're intentionally connecting with each other across the nation. We're intentionally connecting with one another with the same mission in mind. And it's not to get rich, it's not to get every grant available, it's to be sustainable enough to produce some food, to possibly feed some other people in our community, and more importantly, educate as many people in our community as possible, because we're going to be needing to rely on them as well. So this ain't a freebie. This ain't a lottery ticket. This is an action-based initiative, a grassroots movement, and we're literally looking for like-minded, like-hearted, like-spirited people who are ready to do the work of or dismantling the systems in our mind and rebuilding them, centered around the village and the community. So that's my time for today. Dan, if you have anything, say your last words, man, and we finna drop down out this thing like a roller coaster.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to a socially disadvantaged individual deliver, this lesson. So that's all. I just appreciate everybody. You give me feedback. I was a little nervous at first, a little bit. Warmed up a little bit. This is the first time we've done this. So uh, as we do them more and move forward in the future, we just get better at what we do. And I'm open to criticism, all day. So I just appreciate it. Iron sharpen iron, you know what I'm saying? And our
Absolutely.
people will
Absolutely.
not perish for no lack of knowledge, no matter who practices keeping that knowledge from you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. We out this thing. We appreciate y'all.